Well, Rebel fans, UNLV, your running Rebels, downed the Fresno State Bulldogs 82-70 last night in a 1-0 start to Mountain West Conference play. Also, the UNLV football team is in Frisco, Texas for the Frisco Bowl against the Ohio Bobcats. Let's break it all down. This is the Let's Run podcast. All right, everybody, welcome to the show today. Grateful to have you. Not expecting a huge crowd tonight, but please, while you are here, like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, all of those good things as we preview UNLV's bowl game, as we talk about UNLV basketball, and we just kind of get you ready for a fun week for the Runnin' Rebels, for UNLV football, and maybe talk about some of the rumors about UNLV and the football coaching staff. Kind of some things that I'm hearing, nothing big, of course, but, maybe there's going to be a shakeup on the UNLV football coaching staff. Well, I guess we'll have to see. First things first, I wanted to talk about the Runnin' Rebels victory over the Fresno State Bulldogs last night. UNLV was about a 7.5-point favorite over Fresno State. It was the first game of conference play. UNLV was projected to win by 3 points against the Bulldogs. And ended up beating them 84-72. So let's break down the stats here, talk about the key players, and go from there. So UNLV was led in scoring by Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn. Dre had an outstanding game, highlighted especially by his 6 of 10 from the three-point line, finishing with 28 points, 135 offensive rating, was just a stellar player. 4 of 4 from the free throw line, outstanding from him. Good to see. He was only 3 of 5 from 2, but did drive it a little bit. Had 7 defensive rebounds, which was also a huge deal. Good to see Dre as kind of not necessarily a taller guard, but a stronger guard getting defensive rebounds. Finishes with 4 assists, 3 turnovers. Not great with 3 turnovers, but did so much, including 1 block, 3 steals, only 1 foul. Dre was outstanding last night. Coming into the season and how he's played this year, Dre is only shooting, this game helped a lot with his 3-point percentage, but heading into this game, Dre was only shooting about 28% from the 3-point line. So now he is all the way up to 31%, which is a lot better. He's made 22 out of 69 3-pointers on the season. Dre is, especially with the news, I've heard a lot of people asking about Miles Che, who was supposed to be the starting point guard for the Runnin' Rebels. Ultimately, he's probably out for the year. I think it is the safe assumption. And Rebel fans, in my view, should not think that Miles Che is going to be coming back. In all likelihood, his season is done. He is back on crutches, just this nagging foot injury. Likewise, I would say the same thing about Ladji Dembele, who was supposed to be a starter on this team. Just doesn't seem like he's going to be able to play this year. That's another huge injury. UNLV is going to be down 2 starters essentially this entire year. But other guys are stepping up. Tyron Jones is certainly a lot more than we thought that he would be heading into the season. Kamani obviously is playing better as of late. And Jacob Benarbi is playing better as of late. So I think that there are definitely some guys that can step in to fill these roles. But in terms of Miles Che and Ladji Dembele, there's still a chance they could come back, but I would say it's looking likely that both of their seasons are done. So Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, obviously as kind of a shooting guard, not really a pure point guard, stepping in and playing as well as he did last night was huge for this team. And if UNLV is going to be good, Dre is going to have to be an okay 3-point shooter. He's never really been that in his career, but today I think this year I think he's just going to have to be better than he's been. As a junior, oftentimes players can make big leaps forward. And Dre has been really good this year, don't get me wrong, but he was outstanding last night. 6 of 10 from 3. We're going to have to see if he can keep that up. Tyron Jones, outstanding game from Tyron. I just loved everything about Tyron's game last night. Tyron finished 7 of 7 from the field. I don't think I realized this last night, but Tyron did not miss a shot last night. 7 of 7. Now, a lot of these were dunks, don't get me wrong. But Tyron, not missing a shot, that level of offensive efficiency is crazy. Additionally, Tyron has really struggled from the free throw line this season. And so seeing him go 4 of 4 from the free throw line was great. I think it was a great sign of progress for Tyron. He finishes with 4 rebounds, or 5 rebounds, 4 defensive and 1 offensive. The rebounding still needs a little bit of work with Tyron. He's a little vulnerable and very easy to kind of crash the boards against. UNLV giving up offensive rebounds, allowing teams more than one possession is a huge issue for this team. And Tyron just isn't as physical as he needs to be on the inside, giving up too many rebounds. The one downside for Tyron's game last night is he did have 5 turnovers, a couple of travel, some bad passes, some errant passes, a little sloppy, but there's so much potential with Tyron, and he's really turned into a player that is one of my favorite running Rebels. It's so odd. This team is 5-6, and has struggled for big portions of the season against weaker competition, and yet there's still so many players on this team that I like, and Tyron Jones is absolutely one of those. He finishes with 3 blocks, 1 steal, only 3 personal fouls. Tyron was outstanding last night. I was really proud of him and happy with his performance. Next up, Kamani Hamilton. Kamani's the best player on the team. If UNLV was going to be good this season, it was going to be because Kamani Hamilton is awesome. And Kamani played his probable best game of the season last night. He finishes 6 of 7 from 2, 1 of 3 from 3. So he did make a 3-pointer last night. Also 5 of 6 from the free throw line. If you want to take kind of a team-wide thing away from this game, UNLV finished this game 19 of 22 from the free throw line. That is 86%. That is outstanding for a team that has struggled from the free throw line for a lot of this season. To finish that good from the free throw line was a very positive development that shows growth for this Runnin' Rebel squad. Kamani was outstanding last night. Only 2 rebounds is kind of odd. You feel like he should be rebounding better than that. But I still think 1 assist, no turnovers. That's huge for Kamani, and only 2 personal fouls and 3 steals. So Kamani was just an absolute beast last night, and he had the best offensive rating on the floor. He was awesome. Actually, I guess Emmanuel Stephan did, but he only played 12 minutes. So outstanding from Kamani. He's the best player on the team. He is just a great player, and happy to have him kind of playing in a better flow. Howie Fleming was, I thought, interesting last night. He certainly filled up the stat sheet. 5 of 6 from the free throw line. He did make 2 threes, which I thought was very important for this team. I think this team needs Howie to shoot. They need him to be a willing shot maker and taker from the perimeter. Howie finished with 5 rebounds defensive, 5 assists, only 1 turnover, 1 block, 1 steal. I mean, Howie was just a solid all-around player last night. And I think that, him kind of stepping into that glue guy role player who can occasionally break out for a big game, I think is the best role for him. And it's the role that I envisioned him having coming into the season. Jacob Benarbi, only played 25 minutes, was 2 of 4 from the field, 1 of 2 from the free throw line. Again, five defensive rebounds. And Benarbi is the best passer on the team, weirdly enough. Jacob Benarbi, 5 assists, 1 turnover. Benarbi has been just he's got awesome court vision. And so I'm thrilled with how he distributes the ball. The offense generally does better and flows better when he's on the floor. And so an awesome game for Jacob. Proud of him. Happy to have him kind of back and healthy. He's a guy that we've really needed. The first guy off the bench in there's 2. We only really played 2 bench guys. I mean, 9 guys got in, but UNLV basically had a 7-man rotation. And that was something that Coach Pastner had said after that horrific Tennessee State loss. I think we have to shrink the rotation, and Coach Pastner absolutely did that. Isaac Williamson played 17 minutes, only made 1 shot, missed both of the 3-pointers that he took, got a couple of rebounds, had a turnover, but his role was greatly diminished. He did go especially in the second half, and play some outstanding defense on maybe I believe the best player on Fresno State, Zayon Collins, originally a UNLV commit. Isaac Williamson went out there and was a clamp defensively, did amazing on Zayon Collins, and really helped the Rebels set a tone defensively. And so, Isaac, I think he has to kind of step into that kind of man off the bench. It's odd because, and I guess we can talk about Emmanuel Stephan before I get into my point here. Emmanuel Stephan only played 12 minutes, did foul out, didn't score. He did have 2 points, or no, he didn't have any points. Only 2 rebounds. They were both offensive rebounds and 1 defensive rebound. 3 assists, no turnovers. Again, our big men are doing a lot of the heavy lifting on the passing without a pure point guard playing in the game. But, you think about the non-conference that this team had, and essentially every single game, a different role player was acting like the star of the team. So, for example, UNLV in the first game of the season, Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn. Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn's probably been the most consistent player out of everybody. He definitely scores the most out of all the players. But for example, this Chattanooga game, the second game of the season, Nas Cunningham had 25 points in this game. That's crazy, and he was the leading scorer by a lot. Kamani had 19 in that game. But Nas Cunningham, 25 points randomly, acting like the best player on the court. Last night, he barely played. Then going to the Montana game. Then going on to the Montana game. In that game, really, it was Dre, but you had Kamani Hamilton, 16 points. Nas Cunningham, 13 points. Isaac Williamson, 11 points. In the Memphis game, it was Howie Fleming who had 25 points. Kamani Hamilton only had 13. Isaac Williamson had 25 points. Tyron Jones had 14 points. Then kind of moving on to the Players Era tournament, the UNLV kind of struggled a lot in that game. In that tournament, it was really just Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn who was doing a lot of the heavy lifting. But kind of the point that I'm getting out is every single game, a different player has been kind of the leading scorer. Tavon says, biggest crowd of the season yesterday. I did not get a chance to go. I was with my beautiful little daughter. I'll show you guys her. She's just over there like an angel, just sitting in her bassinet. She sits here next to me when I'm doing shows or watching games and stuff. So it's wonderful to have her next to me. Good to see it, Tavon. But this team has had a best player outside of Dre. There's been a lot of up and down with everybody on this roster. Some nights it's Isaac Williamson who has 25 points, or Nas Cunningham who has 25 points. Another night it's Howie Fleming who has 25 points. Another night it's like the game at Stanford that we won. It's Emmanuel Steffen who had 18 points. And the leading scorer, who's the leading scorer of this team, has switched so many times. And I think that is good in that the team has depth. Sorry, if I have to step aside to put my daughter's pacifier back in, I'll do that. But I think it's good in that this team has depth. Certainly different guys can take over at certain times. However, at the same time, a team does have to know where its shots are going to come from. There has to be a level of consistency. And I think that this team, considering how much the rotation has shifted around, has really lacked that steady, consistent force. And the guys have said, who's taking the shots? I don't know who's taking the shots. You take the shots. Well, I scored a lot last game. I should take the shots this game. And the up and down nature of so many performances from so many players this season. One game they're great. They have 20 plus points, and the next game they don't score. Has led this team not to build its offensive identity. And last night, I think that Coach Josh Pastner, in what I would consider good coaching, whatever you want to call it. I mean, the UNLV was definitely struggling for a lot of this game, and Fresno even took a lead with under 10 minutes left in the second half. But UNLV executed very well the last 10 minutes of the game, and basically kind of sent a message and said, we have three players that are going to be our primary scorers. Player number one is Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn. He's the lead guard. He is supremely talented. He's a good defensive player. He's going to score a lot. Next up is Kamani Hamilton. He's going to be the second scorer or the first scorer. I mean, it can be really either of those guys. I think Kamani, more nights than Dre, heading forward, probably should be the guy that takes more shots. And then the rest of the team is kind of role player. They kind of fit into that mold. You might get a great game from Tyron where he scores 18 points, but he's not the one looking for the shots every single time down the floor. It's Kamani and it's Dre. That's the first and the second option. And then it's Howie, and then it's Jacob, and then it's Isaac. Instead of this kind of teeter-totter game, we have our hierarchy of shot taking and shot making established. And I think establishing that going forward into the season is going to be important for the Rebels to build an identity. And you saw that against Fresno State. Now, this Fresno State team, not a great team. UNLV, this is one of the games, UNLV is not favored to win very many games in the Mountain West this season. In fact, UNLV is projected in conference play to go 8-12. It is projected to beat Air Force at home, to beat San Jose State, both on the road and at home, and to beat basically the only teams that UNLV is projected to beat are Fresno, San Jose State, and Air Force. Every single other team that UNLV plays in the Mountain West, the metrics say that the UNLV is going to lose that game. Now, obviously, I don't think that's going to be the case, but it should be noted that UNLV is not projected to be one of the top 7 teams in the Mountain West. Now, do I think they have the talent to do so and the players to do so? Absolutely. But establishing that identity, we are a Kamani, Dre Gibbs Lawhorn, and then the players around them are kind of the role players. I think that is really important for this team. And I'm grateful that yesterday was a first step towards that. UNLV's next game will be against La Sierra. That is on Monday, December the 29th. After that game, we have 9 days until that game, the holiday break. After that game, it's going to be really hectic. UNLV is going to have 2 games every single week the rest of the season. It's going to be a sprint. UNLV is about a third of the way through their season right now, maybe a little bit more than a third of the way through their season. Where are they going to finish in the Mountain West? I honestly don't know. I think that UNLV has all the capability of finishing as a top 5 team in this league and could also finish 9th, 10th, 11th. They could also be kind of in one of those slots. I don't know how to grade this team yet. I think they have all the potential in the world, but I'm not quite sure how to grade them. And so you guys give me 1 second. I'm going to make sure my baby has her pacifier. Okay, baby. Where's your pacifier? Where's your baby? Here you go. Here you go. Here you baby. Hey, baby. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. And so I would predict that the Rebels finish somewhere around 6th or 7th. I think they're going to finish ahead of a team who's going to kind of struggle. And I would also say that the Mountain West is kind of open. San Diego State is not having a very good season. I mean, they're still fine. I mean, San Diego State's not like a bad team or anything, but they're not beating teams they should beat. They have that terrible home loss to Troy, who actually isn't even that bad. Troy's not a bad team at all. They got crushed by Michigan. They lost to Baylor, and then they had a really bad loss at Arizona or semi-away, so it was a neutral game. But the Mountain West is open. The only team that looks like it's levitating above the rest is Utah State at this point. I think everybody else is vulnerable. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Runnin' Rebels finish out the season. I want to talk about UNLV football now. So I've done a couple of preview shows, and they're on my channel with Stephen Yvette from Bobcat Corner, who covers the Ohio Bobcats. And Stephen was a good guy. We talked. We were able to kind of preview that bowl game, and I think this game is kind of a true kind of toss-up style game. Ohio has been really good in their bowl games over the last few seasons in the MAC. I mean, that's a program that's won 10 games, like 3 of the last 5 seasons. They were an 8-win team this season. And I think the Rebels could absolutely lose this game. I'm a little concerned, but, a couple of things to credit this UNLV football team. They have not had a ton of transfers. UNLV has been, transfer free up to this point, which is a good sign for the future and for the stability of this program. UNLV football is, we had the amazing news that Anthony Calandria is likely, almost certainly, to return to UNLV football. Jet Thomas reaffirmed his commitment to the program, as did Dan Mullen. And I think that speaks volumes about where UNLV football is. And, there has been some weird kind of noise about, what is Dan Mullen's future? How long does he want to be in Vegas? That's up for Dan Mullen to decide. I don't think any of us should feel like he's going to be here for more than a few years. But ultimately, I'm grateful to have Dan. I think he's a great coach. I think he has been a great transition from away from Barry Odom. And I think UNLV football is in a good place. This bowl game feels like a complete toss-up. If the Rebels lose the bowl game, guys, I would say don't burn the house down. I don't. This Ohio team's a good team. They play well in bowl games. They are going through a bit of controversy with their head coach Brian Smith being fired postseason, but it's a true toss-up game to me. The guys that I would look out for if I were you, specifically, is I apologize. My baby's just making some noise, and I hope you guys will forgive me because I don't want to keep going over. But Parker Navarro, their quarterback, is very good. But the biggest threat that I would say to this UNLV defense is Say Bangura, their running back. He had over 1,200 yards on the season, an outstanding running back. And the UNLV rushing defense has not been good this season. And so I would just warn you that this Ohio team, yes, they're a MAC team. Yes, UNLV had a great 10-win season, a very good 10-win season. But this Ohio team can absolutely beat this UNLV football team. And so just be ready for the game. I think it's going to be a very competitive game. I had UNLV winning this one by a field goal, 34-31. I'm looking forward to it. And kind of the last thing we'll talk about, I'm going to one more time to my baby. My baby. I want to give her a binky. Oh, come on, Elaine. 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 Hey, you're okay. For the joys of being a new parent. So the last thing I want to talk about is there has been a rumor, and Noah brought it up, Mike Shearer. There's been a lot of discussion about the UNLV football defense this season. And obviously, yeah, it's a bowl game. I would expect, just like Master Rebel said, I would expect this UNLV Ohio football game to be a very high scoring affair. I don't think either of these teams are going to stop each other super well. I had 34-31, but I wouldn't be surprised to see this game up in the 40s. You could see like a 48-45 type game. So is Paul Gunther, who is currently the UNLV interim defensive coordinator, he's not actually the official defensive coordinator this season. He had an interim tag on him this entire year. Is he going to return as UNLV's defensive coordinator in 2026? That is kind of the question. Now, his defense was not good enough to justify a return. If UNLV had one of the 100 best defenses in college football this season, we are celebrating a trip to the college football playoff and probably a loss to Oregon at this point instead of James Madison. But if UNLV just had a semi-competent defense, we're a college football playoff team this year. I really believe that. Our defense was so porous, was so undisciplined, struggled so much with gap integrity, struggled with communication. And Paul Gunther, while we did have some performances that were decent, these performances, you think of the Colorado State game, you think of the Wyoming game, these performances that UNLV's defense had that were decent were often against just anemic offenses. I wouldn't really give Paul Gunther a ton of credit. I think he had a very simple scheme, and I don't think he was a good teacher of that scheme. I don't think he is a recruiter. I do not think that UNLV can bring him back as our defensive coordinator. And it's not even just because of his knowledge or because of his scheme. A lot of it's due to recruiting. Paul Gunther's an NFL guy. He doesn't have deep connections and recruiting pipelines to bring players into play for this UNLV football defense. That is why Noah brings up the name Mike Shearer. Now, if you don't remember Mike Shearer, he was previously the defensive coordinator under head coach Barry Odom. He ran the 3-3-5 defense, which is kind of a keep the ball in front of you, drop 8, prevent defense. It doesn't get a ton of pressure on the quarterback, but what it does do is keep you from giving up huge explosive chunk plays. And UNLV's defense under Barry Odom, it wasn't spectacular. The second year, definitely with Jackson Woodard, it was solid. But honestly, Mike Shearer originally joined Barry Odom in Purdue, but the news came out that Mike Shearer was leaving Purdue. And there has been some talk, some speculation, and even some rumors that Mike Shearer, who was the previous UNLV defensive coordinator under Barry Odom, would be returning to his mantle as defensive coordinator for the UNLV football team. I'll tell you, I think this is a great idea. Is Mike Shearer going to turn UNLV into the 1980 Chicago Bears in terms of defensive efficiency and performance? No, he's not going to do that. What he will do is provide recruiting in a way that we haven't had under Paul Gunther. Who's going to be on our defense next season? I don't really know. We're losing some key guys. We're losing Marcel McDuffie. We're losing Chief Borders. We're actually losing our best players. There's some nice guys that might come back, but there are probably going to be some guys that transfer. That's just the name of the game. And so we need somebody who has players, who has been recruiting, who has been a part of the college football system. And listen, Mike Shearer, he basically just got fired at Purdue, basically. I mean, I'm not saying that's exactly how it went down, his separation from Barry Odom. But UNLV just needs a steadying force, somebody that can make UNLV into a top 100 defense. I mean, we're not asking UNLV to be among one of the best defenses in college football. And I think Mike Shearer could absolutely provide that for this UNLV program. And so there was a video that Paloma Villancana, or I'm actually not 100% sure how to pronounce her name, Paloma Villancana, who is a Fox 5 sports reporter here in town. She posted that Mike Shearer was visiting Barry Odom in Texas in preparation for their game. And I believe that there is some positive momentum that he could possibly rejoin the staff. Now, do I know that? No, I don't. But UNLV needs a real defensive coordinator. Paul Gunther, He could have done worse, I guess. We did win games. He did have his team that forced some turnovers, but ultimately, we need somebody that can bring structure to this UNLV defense. I don't think Mike Scherer would break the bank. I don't think he's a defensive coordinator that we can't afford. He obviously has a lot of familiarity with players that are still on this team. He has been recruiting. He hasn't left college football. He has been a long part of college football, and he knows Las Vegas. He's comfortable here. He's been 2 years here and provided and ran two competent defenses. And so I hope that UNLV goes that route. But ultimately, I just hope that UNLV hires a defensive coordinator. And Daryl says UNLV football needs to get bigger and better in the trenches. Absolutely. UNLV was big enough to beat most teams at the G5 level. But Boise State, the way that they build their teams, they build them big, they build them strong, they run power, they use the tight ends to block, and they run the football. And they ran over UNLV twice this season with their size, with the trenches, with the defensive line, with the offensive line. And UNLV on both sides of the ball, both offensive and defensive, need to beef up their lines. I want to see some 6'6", 300-pound guys on the defensive line. I just do. That's what I got to see, because this team does not have the defensive size that it needs to kind of push teams around. And in the New Mountain West, they're going to be able to have physical advantages over essentially every team that they play. And so we need to double down on that. We need to be more physically talented, bigger, faster, stronger than all the teams that we play. Give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. Baby. Hey, you're okay. You're okay. Get your baba. Oh, the joy. Oh, the joy, guys. I got some new headphones. These are nicer. But I ultimately expect UNLV to I'm going to predict it. I think UNLV is going to hire a defensive coordinator, and that our defensive coordinator next season will not be Paul Gunther. That is my prediction. Now, this bowl game, I don't think it'll matter, the outcome of this game, but I would like to see this team perform well in this game. I think it just provides positive momentum going forward into your next season when you perform well in these bowl games. And I'm excited. I'm really excited. I think we're going to hire somebody. I think Mike Scherer is a good option, but we need to hire an actual defensive coordinator. And UNLV football is really on the come up. And heading into this next season, there's going to be a lot of talk about this over the off season, so I don't want to do all my off season content. But if you guys are in the comments, let me know what would constitute a bad season next year for UNLV football. What is essentially, how many wins are you expecting UNLV football to have next season? So let me know in the comments. You put in the comment section how many wins you're expecting UNLV football to have, because I was thinking about it, and coming into this season, this Dan Mullen's first season, I had UNLV as an 8-4 team, and I think we were a couple plays away from being an 8-4 team, obviously, but I would not have considered 8-4 to be a horrific season for Dan Mullen's first year. We had games at Boise. We had a tricky Miami, Ohio season. And Daryl's kind of the first one. He says 7 wins or less is a bad season. Truthfully, if UNLV finishes anything below second place, it's a failure. They should either win the conference or finish second to New Mexico. I think it's basically a 2-horse race. Timothy, I would say that Hawaii is going to have something to say about that. And I would also expect San Jose State to have a bounce back season next year, as they kind of had a really down year. Maybe not completely unexpectedly, but people thought San Jose State was going to be a good team this season in the Mountain West, and they weren't. But in my opinion, and I'm going to be pretty harsh here, I'm going to be very, my expectations are going to be really high. Anything under 9 to 10 is disappointing from Finzix. Keep putting your guys' comments in. How many? Master Rebel says 12. We should be where Boise was entering the college football playoff race in 2024. Yeah, I think that 11 wins is the baseline. And look, you have a tough game at New Mexico next season. You have a game at Air Force next season. There are game at North Texas next season. There are games that you can lose. And I think New Mexico is going to be very good next year. I really do. But truthfully, I expect UNLV to win. If UNLV does not win the Mountain West next year, it is a horrific season. It's a bad season. If UNLV wins 10 games and then doesn't win the Mountain West next season, I will be incredibly disappointed. If they go 11-1 and then lose in the Mountain West championship game, I'll be disappointed. That is my expectation for where UNLV football needs to be next season. And do I think they can achieve that? I do. I really do. It's going to be tough, man. New Mexico's good. Hawaii's good. We got to travel to Hawaii. We got to travel to New Mexico. But that's the standard now at UNLV. Now that Boise State's gone from the conference, and look, New Mexico beat us this year in Allegiant Stadium. So I mean, we got a ways to go. There's no way around it. We're gonna have to put in some hard work in this offseason to establish ourselves a bit better. But 11 wins, you can lose one. 11 wins, that is the baseline minimum for me in terms of what I'm expecting next season. It is. And that may seem like a lot to you, but I expect UNLV with a senior Anthony Calandria, with a Jet Thomas who's coming back, with Dan Mullen returning. I'm expecting 11 wins. Daryl says, I'm not a fan of Hawaii's style of play in football. Too finesse, too small. They run the football to put it on the stat sheet. Yeah, I don't know. Hawaii, I respect them. It's always tough to win on the islands, but I think UNLV matches up decently with Hawaii, and it's going to be interesting to see how they respond next year. Timothy, I believe you're a New Mexico fan. Always good to see you, brother. Maybe you can answer this. With 9 teams in the conference, is there even going to be a championship game since we don't have a 12th team? Yes, there will be a championship game. And so each team will play 8 conference games. Each team will play every single team in the conference. We will not have as many crazy tiebreaker scenarios as we had this year. And there will be a championship game with traditional tiebreakers to kind of pick who is in the championship game. And I think it's going to be New Mexico at Allegiant next season. That's what I think. I think that's what's going to happen. That's my prediction. Anything less than UNLV winning the conference next year is a failure. Yes. And to be fair, if UNLV goes, say, 10-3 and wins the conference, and loses a couple of non-conference games, if they win the conference next season, I will not consider the season to be a huge disappointment, because we haven't won a conference before. But with Anthony Calandria returning as a senior, I expect this team to be in the. Listen, man, I kind of expect this team to be a college football playoff team next season. That's my expectation. That trophy case needs to start filling up. I could not agree more. And so, listen, as we kind of transition into Run and Rebel basketball, a lot of live shows. I will be doing a bit more now that football's over. Now that we've kind of settled into our routine, I will be doing some more traditional style videos again, we'll continue the conference realignment series. I am currently planning we're going to head back into the Kelly courtroom, as I call it, where I'm going to represent a couple of clients. So I'm going to have 2 videos out this coming week during the Christmas break. I'll put them out. And the videos are going to be the case for the group of 5 to have its own college football playoff, to basically separate from the current college football playoff, and the case against it. I'm going to make a video for both perspectives, and I'm going to try and represent them as fairly as I can. And I'm hoping you guys will find those interesting. I'll have those completed later this week, and they'll be posted on my YouTube channel and on Twitter. But should be fun. I think UNLV is going to win the bowl game 34-31. UNLV basketball is playing La Sierra, a D2 school. They will not lose that game next week, I promise. But I'm excited for this bowl game. Can't wait. I thought the Rebels played a great game versus Fresno. Yeah, I agree, Perry. I think it's going to be a really fun bowl game. I think it's going to be a fun week. I'll be live post bowl game. Did we forget when P4 TCU got blown out? Yeah, I mean, I can go into it a little bit here, but essentially, listen, man, everybody gets blown out when they're playing the number 1 team in the country. Even the number 12 team in the country gets blown out when they're playing the number 1 team in the country. Blowouts are just a part of the college football playoff. No matter what team, no matter what brand, there have been blowouts. TCU is a good example of that. Last season, Tennessee got blown out. You saw Indiana get blown out in the college football playoff. And G5 schools, if you want my opinion, I don't think G5 schools should give up their place in the college football playoff at all. And if they want to do that, they got to take us to court. That would be my position if I was a G5 conference. But I guess we'll see. So guys, I'll have those videos up this week. I appreciate you all checking out the show tonight. IDK, what happened? Look what happened to San Diego State last night against Arizona. Yeah, that was bad. San Diego State got crushed by Arizona in what was kind of a close game at the half. But I appreciate you guys checking out the video tonight. I'm going to end it there. You guys have an awesome evening. Have an awesome week. Have a Merry Christmas. Hope you guys spend some good time with your families. and let's run.